Hi guys, I am back with a review, but this one is going to be a little bit different because instead of just simply reviewing an anime's plot or characters, I wanted to extract lessons from what I've been watching. I've been pretty busy with other things lately, so I haven't really been watching anime all that much. Plus, Game of Thrones kind of takes priority, if you know what I mean. So I'm not sure how often I'll be uploading videos like this. It'll most likely depend on what I'm currently watching and if what I'm watching would be a good candidate for something like this. When I'm watching an anime, or even reading a book for that matter, I'm listening with something I like to call soul hearing. Anime is just another medium to convey messages and themes, just like any storytelling medium. So let's extract some of the themes and messages I found to be the most compelling. This won't be all of them by any means, as some anime can be pretty simple and then others can be pretty complex. Plus, a great story will tell many stories depending on what you, the viewer, are paying attention to. So today's title is Your Lie in April. Now, I highly recommend this anime if you haven't seen it yet. It captivated me almost the entire way until it died down a little bit at the end, but that's neither here nor there. Before delving into this anime, I heard that it was really sad and that I might cry at the ending, but I'm here to tell you that I did not cry at all. In fact, it was pretty happy in my perspective, which is kind of funny because I'm known to bawl my eyes out when watching some anime, like Canon and Hunter x Hunter, for example. I must warn you that this video will contain some spoilers in it as I talk mainly about character growth. I'll even mention specific quotes from characters, so if you don't mind, keep watching, though it would probably be better if you've already seen it because I'm not going to give a ton of background in my explanations, so you might just be sitting there probably confused if you've never seen it. I will say though that I will not be giving away the ending at all. So Your Lie in April is not about a kid who plays piano exceptionally well, which is probably what you'd find if you Googled a synopsis. On the surface, it has a pretty average plot, but if we listen to the story from a soul hearing perspective or an analysis, we can see that the music and piano is just the chosen medium in which to express what this is really about. Some of the themes I'll talk about in this video is expression, fear, letting go, what you don't know will control you, and by the end of the video, you'll understand what the lie in Your Lie in April is. Your Lie in April shows characters' expression through piano as a medium, but the message and lessons are beyond instruments. Your emotions, creativity, light, and love can radiate through any creative form. Music is just one form of expression. Writing is another, being of service to others, acting, singing, motivational speaking, making YouTube videos. Anything you do, you can put all of you into it, and that's expression. Bars. The characters here speak through their music. They use it to express themselves to the audience, to each other, and most importantly, as a way to sort through their own roadblocks, fears, and insecurities. At the end of every performance, each character has grown significantly because of it. For me, one of the main themes in Your Lie in April is self-expression and how that helps us to expand. In episode 6, Kaori asks Arima, "How do you want to play this piece?" She says, right now, Arima-kun is trying to turn his suffering into notes, exposing both his pain and his suffering, even his own struggling self. That's how he'll come to dwell on his music. That's how we play music that's alive. Kaori also says, you try to abandon the piano even as you cling to it for support. You love it, but you can't go near it. You miss it, but you can't touch it. And then Arima says, but of course I'd be suffering. I mean, I'm gonna sail into uncharted waters, right? Both taking on a challenge and creating something is painful, but it's fulfilling, so thank you. To me, this is pretty self-explanatory. Letting go, creating something, and facing yourself and your beliefs is challenging. It's scary. Of course he'd be afraid of doing that. Creating something and being challenged is painful because Arima has to face himself in order to work through his craft. When he plays piano, it's a reflection of himself, so he has to face it now. It's fulfilling because he loves it and grows from it, so he's grateful to Kaori for nudging him in the direction of self-healing and expression, which leads to joy. Arima wants to transcend perfection using heart, which is something he never had while playing piano. His heart was never in it because it was forced by his mother. Here's a quotable takeaway from this theme, and that's, feel the fear and do it anyway. Arima places himself in that particular space that scares him, the space that's sure to stimulate him and move something within him. He feels provoked and prodded by this space, obviously the stage in which he performs. Just being there in front of an audience, in front of a piano, period, provokes him. He thinks, and I quote, "Holding back, grasping with both hands, shaking my soul to its very core." This stirs things up inside of him. Time starts flowing again. Things have been stagnant the past 2 years, and provoking his soul's core gets things moving again, and he can move forward in his artistry and in his soul's journey. When he gets in front of the piano, the music and his emotions become overpowering. Kaori urges, "We're all afraid, you know. Go on." So he goes on, but not without feeling resistance, which is normal. His mother drilled it in his head that this is his punishment, that he must play the piano, but he can't hear the keys. He's now punishing himself for telling his mother that, "I wish you would just die." This is a perfect example of how we manifest our limiting beliefs. He physically cannot hear the keys, but he's doing this to himself because he believes that this is his punishment and that he deserves it. But nothing is punishment unless you believe it is. And then you make it into reality by sabotaging yourself in some way to get out of something that scares you or makes you uncomfortable because you do not believe that you are free. Just like his mom getting sick and dying. She was a miserable woman who tortured her child because she was torturing herself. After Arima told her, "I wish you would just die," that was her own thoughts mirroring back on her. This is what we call cause and effect, aka karma. Karma's like a mirror, and it's both cause and effect. She couldn't take her own reflection and died almost directly after he showed that feeling to her. Before stating that he wished she would just die, he did everything to appease her. He did everything to absorb her energy, and this was the first time he reflected back to her. This is why it was a shocking moment and she couldn't hold on anymore, so she died. You can also interpret this as Arima coming into his own for the first time by telling his mother off. It's like a push that says, "I won't take this anymore." And maybe because of that, his mother was finally able to die, because maybe she didn't feel needed anymore. Plus she felt guilty and maybe had a little bit of pride in him. I don't know. But now Arima is just left with his own feelings and beliefs. Music itself and the other musicians around him poke at these emotions and beliefs throughout the series. This series is about Arima moving through what comes up for him during recital. The emotions, fears, and limiting beliefs that come up for him. In episode 10, during his recital, Arima is again consumed by a deep sea. He plays the piano rough and fast because he can't hear the notes. The deep sea is a representation of fear and anxiety that consumes him. The sea is the depths of his own psyche that he's stuck in. So he gives up and he tries focusing only on playing the piano, but that doesn't work. Sometimes pushing through something doesn't work on its own. Sometimes it's the letting go of something that will allow the tethers of your soul to be released so that you can move forward. In this case, his mother's resentment and self-hatred, and the fact that he feels an emotional tie to that and feels a sense of responsibility for her happiness, that's what holds him back. And this turned to guilt after her death. He needs to let go of these beliefs because they're just not true. He needs to let go of the belief that he has no control over this response he's getting from the piano. In this episode, his memory of his mother says, "The piano is you." If he believes this to be true, that he is the piano and that the piano is not allowing him to hear the notes, then that would mean that he is not allowing himself to hear the notes. This feeling that he's not in control is a lie that the piano tells him. A lot of the limiting beliefs we hold about ourselves are lies that we tell, so that we have an excuse to refrain from doing the things that make us uncomfortable and from the things that make us grow. Usually the things that make us most uncomfortable are actually the things that we most want to do and are the most expansive and enlightening. Growth is often painful. In episode 10, Arima doesn't know why he wants to play the piano anymore. But his friends and competitors keep cheering him on anyways, and this reaches him. And then he literally sees a light shining above him that says, "again." So he tries again. In the beginning of his performance, Arima played the piano like a robot. Then he played like a sobbing child, pounding the keys. And then he transformed when he started to play for Kaori. He went from lifeless to anxious and afraid to joy and love all in one performance. This means that he's no longer playing for his mother or from a place of guilt. This is a transition into playing for Kaori only. But what is it about her? She is mirroring back to him who he really is. She actually says, "You are just you, no matter what." Whereas his mother was trying to create him to her own liking, thus he grew up robotic and not as his own person. Kaori accepts him as he really is, and he likes this, because who wouldn't, right? Kaori says, "Music is freedom. You're free." He is free from the feeling of responsibility and no longer attaches the guilt or outcome or achievement to his worth. And he's able to play the piano and express himself fully at the end of his performance. That's immense growth and freedom. So to recap, the main messages I get from a soul hearing perspective is self-expression. What you don't know will control you. For example, Arima's teacher says, "The sounds that rise up from the bottom of your soul, you've been letting them override all else without realizing it." His emotions about his belief were controlling him without him realizing it. Limiting beliefs are just beliefs. They're lies that we create or co-create with others that control us behind the scenes. And we let them. Arima was able to transform them by focusing his energy in a different way. And I quote, "I knew all along the ghost of my mother was a shadow of my own creation. An excuse for me to run away, my own weakness." And Arima's teacher says, "It's because you're not looking down anymore. It's because you're looking up now." When you shift your focus away from your story and bring it to love and joy, you can let go of your story and the beliefs you've held that kept you stuck in your story. Arima's guilt, wanting to please his mother, her death, everything. When he steps into his own power and takes responsibility for the fact that he can't hear the notes, that this isn't something happening to him, but it's something happening for him, he's able to work through that and come to a place of expression, gratitude, love, and joy. He's no longer stuck in this lie that he can't hear the notes. He's no longer stuck in this lie of who he believed himself to be or who he should be in order to appease his mother. He's just free and he's playing the piano. He's not attached to the outcome of winning. He just plays for the pure joy of it. Arima's teacher says, "I think that means you're not bound by sounds." And truthfully, you're only bound by your own beliefs. Arima's teacher also says, "The ability to trace the sounds within you, the sounds you imagine, you have the skill to pull that off." I like to interpret this as we all have this ability to pull out whatever our imagination can muster up. The ability is intuition, the sound is manifestation, and your imagination can go as far as you want it to go. We are truly only as limited as we believe ourselves to be, and our circumstances and our stories are exactly that, just stories. Stories we have to let go of in order to get back to our power and our joy. We're not sick or dysfunctional by default. We're joyful and powerful and loving as our default. And the things we go through are just there for us to work through and let go of, to grow and expand from. They're just lessons. Life is a journey, and if we're stuck in a story, then we're not moving forward. Arima was stuck in his mother's story, in his mother's own world that she created. Your Lie in April is all about Arima working through his emotions of fear and anxiety and limiting beliefs, and letting that go so he can get back to joy. This, to me, is the main theme, hence the lie in Your Lie in April. We lie to ourselves all the time. Let's accept that, work through it, move on, and get back to joy. Bye, guys.